Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's a nice day out, and it's so good to be out. It could be rougher than this, and it would be fine. And rough is it's 50 degrees. The humidity 72, and they have predicted that any minute it could rain, but I'm betting that it won't. The clouds around suggest we will have rain. And the winds are 15 miles an hour, although not like the other day. So I don't think the wind will cause any interference. China is on the front page, above the fold to the right-hand side, probably in every paper in America. And I can't help but think about the martial arts way of thinking that must have been the early years of many, if not most of the people in China. But if not, the scriptures they read and the writings they read could come to this as well. And having spent time as a kid in martial arts and somewhat past that, the thing that struck me was the thought that China would react in a martial arts way. So what am I talking about? Judo, which is Japanese but exists elsewhere, has this feeling of, they call it the gentle way. You come to me, and then by a tip of your balance, a foot brush, an ippon seonagi, you take their arm and pull them down and over you. But you wait for them to come to you. China is doing that. The other arts, the martial arts, are, yes, there is a time to attack, but it's usually when there's an evident opening and you're so close for that. China's not asked to negotiate anything. Nothing. Trump has opened fire in a not so okay corral. And the more mature way of expressing it is still pretty scary. This is a rupture in world trade like never before in the history of this planet. Now, numbers help us measure what that is. So what is that? Not only are we a debtor nation to China, but at a peak in recent years, this market has meant $700 billion to us. With these tariffs in place, it's zero, or it could be zero. Now, some Chinese imports will come into the United States through third parties. That's to be expected. And Dancing Hands Navarro talks about pieces coming and they just assemble them. This guy's understanding of markets and manufacture is so primitive, it would be laughable if he was just saying it at a cocktail party. But he is supposedly advising the president. Who knows what he's telling him? And we know what he's telling America, and some of it's a lie. We will not negotiate under any circumstances. Well, he was contradicted. It means he's not in the loop or he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Now, some of these things that are coming into our country from China, we are dependent on some of these. Now, let's go over the history, the brief history. And none of this is going to be very scientific, but it is logical. We had tariffs, and there will be no negotiating. Then we have a pause. The pause that refreshes. 90 days of pause. Now, this inartful retreat from the deal that never was by the man who is the art of the deal, though he didn't write the book. And his publisher has said in recent days, he never even wrote a postcard for us. Fox thought he was a genius in recent days, but, doing one thing, then doing another. And the stock market perhaps thought that was all well and good for about a day. And then what happened was they realized we were going hard on China. And so the tariffs keep going up. And Trump doesn't get it. And at a distance, he thinks just attacking China with tariffs is something, but he doesn't understand the tool he's using. It's a tool that you hurt someone else, and it hurts you even as you use it, particularly when we talk about his retreat last evening. Now, his retreat last evening is huge because he retreated from about 1/4 of all trade in his unilateral change of the tariffs. Now let's go over this a little bit. And I found it hard to find stories on it, but the basic story is out there. And it makes me think his tiny thumbs are too small to move the levers of government to good effect. Now, late Friday, well, again, like I said, when China had not sought to negotiate and Trump had unilaterally gone about increasing the tariffs to China under shadow of dark thoughts and incompetent leadership, Trump exempted smartphones, computers, and the other electronic imports. And it was 125% reciprocal tariff to China. But who gets hurt with that tariff? You know, does this guy understand when he gets away from a concrete building that merely has his name on it, that he couldn't possibly build or know anything about in true architectural knowledge? Does he know anything about the tech market? Anything at all? And he knows something. He knows how to get money out of them. But then he doesn't know how to fulfill his corrupt bargain to take care of him when he's in the White House. So AOL is one who really gets hurt. The iPhone is an obvious. And Microsoft and Samsung also get hurt. Remember, these billionaires stood along a wall inside the Capitol at the inauguration. These guys brought them to the dance. These guys expect to be taken care of. So the cover story is that Apple and others are going to hustle to bring onshore their manufacturing in the United States as soon as possible. Really? Remember all these guys, all these nut jobs telling us that this was going to be a great advantage for us because immediately these businesses would spring to action. And here we have proof positive that that's also bullshit, because these guys can't do it themselves, or maybe they would have been doing it. They were fine to work out this deal using Chinese imports. So what Trump gave? Well, what Trump gave was he gave up. He retreated. He ran like the bully he is, afraid of a real fight with a martial artist China that knows how to fight and knows what his strength is and knows what they can do in this competition. You know, keep in mind, this was a country under Mao Zedong was quite comfortable not feeding its own, suffering enormous deaths in order to become an economic powerhouse. What do you think they're prepared to do now? China versus the United States, not on a battlefield, but in a boardroom, in a marketplace. And we're already a debtor nation to them. And AOL says, you're killing us here. So what Trump did was unilateral disarmament. So we're not going to negotiate. Then we pause. Then we change again. And then late Friday night, when nobody's paying attention and we're pushing the story about what's going on with Iran, we cut a deal with ourselves. China had nothing to do with it. So they can passively accept this change or ignore it because they put their own tariffs on us. And I don't think they're going to change until there's a real good reason to change. So China is prepared to have a bare hands fist fight. Trump, I don't want to shame the guy, but when you look at him, do you think for an instant this is a man who knows what he's doing, can execute, and is to be feared? We should have Billy Bob Thornton come in and act as president, because he can sell it. Those of you who've seen Landman would know what I'm talking about. It's not a show for everybody. So, where are we? Despite how we got to this position, I think this is favorable. That is to say that Trump has shown his weakness. The art of the deal wasn't written by him. It wasn't lived by him. And we put the lie to the fact that when Fox and others say, oh, look at that, he's a genius, the art of the deal. I wouldn't want this genius to park my car. And in fact, there's evidence that while I'm saying it as a joke, it may be true. He may not be able to park a car, I don't know. And he certainly doesn't know how to run a government. And he doesn't know, luckily, so far, how to be a dictator. And he's violated all the rules because this is a slow, disciplined process to be an outrageous example of evil in history. And Trump is working at it, and he's doing a lot of things we're trying to wrestle back and fight and resist and change and defeat. And we will do that because he's not up to the task. He is a weak man with mashed potatoes in his hair and a stupid look on his face, hair coloring and clothing and ties that don't fit. This guy's a clown. And we start thinking about him as a clown and we start pushing back, we'll kick his ass out of the White House. And that's a good objective, I think. So, on this not so chilly day with greenery all around me and an occasional bird, I say goodbye until tomorrow from my cathedral of trees. All the best. Bye-bye.